Tenille Dashwood, yes, Tenille Dashwood returned to Impact Wrestling last week during last week's stacked episode of Impact Wrestling on Access TV. Great to see her back. Great to see her back. The Knockouts division in Impact Wrestling just goes from strength to strength to strength. It is, in my opinion, up there with WWE and NXT's women's division in North America and in the world as one of the greatest and best female division out there right now. It really is that good. Now, Tenille Dashwood returned during an in-ring segment last week with Jordynne Grace and Impact Knockouts champion Deonna Purrazzo. She made it clear that she was back and she's going for the title. I think, to me, it appeared that obviously her end game goal is to go for the Knockouts Championship, but I think initially Tenille Dashwood is going to be feuding with Jordynne Grace. That's what it looks like to me anyway in Impact Wrestling. Now, Tenille Dashwood, she bragged that she's not lost to Jordynne Grace. She bragged that she's not Jordynne Grace, who recently did lose twice to Deonna Purrazzo, and Deonna Purrazzo, she mentioned, has never defeated Tenille Dashwood. So I think eventually we are going to get Tenille Dashwood versus Deonna Purrazzo. I don't think, though, it's going to be at Bound for Glory. I think we're going to get what has been mentioned in the reports that were leaked with that leaked Bound for Glory card. I think we're going to get Deonna Purrazzo versus Kylie Rae at Bound for Glory. I think that's the natural progression of storyline where this is going. But that wasn't just it. We didn't just have Tenille Dashwood interrupt Jordynne Grace and Deonna Purrazzo and return to Impact Wrestling. During the segment, the war of words continued between all three knockouts, but then things were left when Rosemary teleported the Wrestle House crew into the ring. Deonna Purrazzo tried to attack Kylie Rae, but Kylie Rae sent her to the floor. Kimberly tried to attack Kylie Rae, but Kylie Rae super kicked her. Kylie Rae then, of course, posed with the Knockouts Championship, but gave it back to Deonna Purrazzo out of respect. Of course, Kylie Rae is the ultimate babyface, remember? So that, to me, like I said, makes me think, and it logically makes me think that those reports by the likes of Fightful about that Bound for Glory card a couple of weeks ago, suggesting that Kylie Rae is going to be facing Deonna Purrazzo, that to me seems legitimate, and I do think we're going to get Kylie Rae versus Deonna Purrazzo at Bound for Glory, and I'm really looking forward to that match. I think that Deonna Purrazzo has done a fantastic job so far as Knockouts champion. I really enjoyed her match with Jordynne Grace at Slammiversary. Dave Meltzer did not, which for me was absolute BS. He gave it, was it like 2.25 stars or something ridiculous like that? It was way better than that. And then on top of that, that match was good, but the rematch at Impact Emergence Night 2, the 30-minute Iron Man match between Jordynne Grace and Deonna Purrazzo, to me was one of the best female matches you're going to see this year. It was absolutely brilliant. Well worthy of main eventing a TV special. Let's focus on that as well. This wasn't just main eventing an episode of Impact Wrestling on Access TV, and I don't mean that as a disrespect, but that main eventing any show is a big deal, but this wasn't just main eventing a normal episode of Impact. This was main eventing a TV special. A TV special, which means more eyeballs are going to be on the product, and you're going to have more talent bragging about it, and people are going to be paying more attention, and it was main evented by the Knockouts in a 30-minute Iron Man match, which to me was an absolute classic. So that says about the level of quality and priority of the Knockouts division in Impact Wrestling right now. So it looks like with Tenille Dashwood returning to Impact Wrestling, it looks like Dashwood, the former Emma in WWE, could now be feuding with Deonna Purrazzo and the other top knockouts in the division. Like I mentioned, I think what we're going to see at this point is Tenille Dashwood feuding with Jordynne Grace. I think they'll go off and do their own thing. And I think as we head into Bound for Glory, we're going to get Deonna Purrazzo versus Kylie Rae for the Knockouts Championship. Now, this doesn't mean they can't all come together. We could see, potentially, a fatal four-way match at Bound for Glory for the Knockouts Championship. Personally, I wouldn't want to see that. I just think that these multi-person matches can be a bit overdone, and sometimes they do them to shoehorn everyone into the big card, the big show, right? Bound for Glory is Impact Wrestling's biggest show of the year. Now, some people may argue that Slammiversary in the last few years, especially this year, has maybe jumped over Bound for Glory, let's be honest here, because Slammiversary this year was so big and there was so much momentum and so much discussion and hype because of the impending returns and debuts of Impact Wrestling from the ex-WWE stars and former Impact Wrestling stars, right? There was a lot of hype around Slammiversary and a lot of talk about Slammiversary, and maybe this year it was a bigger show than Bound for Glory. But traditionally, Bound for Glory is Impact Wrestling's biggest show of the year. It's their WrestleMania, it's their Starrcade, and I don't know, I just think that sometimes companies, and Impact Wrestling isn't alone in this, WWE's bad for it too, in that when you have these big shows, it's the biggest payday of the year, they try and get everyone on the card possible, when sometimes it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be just because you're part of the company, you should be on the big show. You should have to work to it. And if you're at the top of the card, at that point of time, you can be on the big show. Support for Wrestle News 365 is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Now, Manscaped, for all of my UK fans out there, Manscaped just launched in the UK. Over here in the United Kingdom, we have gone for years and years and years without using the right tools for the job. But now you can be one of the first men in England to experience their life-changing product. But it's not just limited to all of the great fans over here in the UK. This offer goes worldwide, so all of my friends over in America and around the world that are listening to this offer still does apply for you. You can still use our code. But I've got to tell you a quick story first. Now, there have been so many times, right? I'm a guy. You gotta groom down there, fellas, right? That's the most important thing. You gotta keep yourself trimmed, you gotta keep yourself proper, and a lot of the time I've been guilty of this, of using the wrong tools for the job. I've had incidences, I'm not afraid to say it, where things have been nicked, snagged, or in fact cut down there because I wasn't being careful enough and using the right equipment. Now that just shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen. You don't want to be worrying about cutting yourself down there. Do you know how painful that is? I can tell you, it hurts quite a lot, and I wish and hope to God it never happens to me again, and it won't happen to me ever again because I'm using Manscaped products. That's why Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer. The Manscaped engineering team has perfected the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created. Big statement, but it's absolutely true. They have just released the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0 in the UK. It's also available around the world as well. Their third generation trimmer features a cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents. So those cuts and snags that I was telling you about before are a thing of the past. And let me tell you, when I tell you this is premium, I mean premium. The battery will last up to 90 minutes so you can get a longer, perfect shave. And not only that, you don't want to be cutting yourself and trimming yourself all over the bathroom, getting hair all over the place. That's just disgusting. The lawnmower has a waterproof technology that allows you to groom in the shower, so no more mess. And one of the coolest features, one of my favourite features about the lawnmower is the LED light which illuminates grooming areas for a closer and more precise trimming experience. So you can shave longer, you can shave more precisely, and you can shave in the shower. What more did I need to tell you? They've also upgraded to a 7,000 RPM motor with quiet stroke technology, and let's not forget about the charging stand. You can show off your mower loud and proud because this intelligently designed stand is a convenient charging dock powered by USB. So, if you are listening to me speak right now, I want you to experience it firsthand for yourself. Let's get that bush to tush clean, and you can get 20% off and free shipping. Yeah, you heard me right there. 20% off and free shipping. All you have to do is use the code 365Wrestle at manscaped.com. Make your testies their besties. That's 20% off and free shipping. Not only are you getting 20% off, you're getting free shipping as well with the code 365Wrestle at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use the code 365Wrestle. Your balls will thank you. So I don't think we're going to see a four-way match for the Knockouts Championship at Bound for Glory. Don't get me wrong, I think Tenille Dashwood versus Deonna Purrazzo versus Jordynne Grace versus Kylie Rae would be fantastic, I really do. But I don't think that's where this is going. I think, in actuality, we could see Tenille Dashwood versus Jordynne Grace at the event in a separate match, and we have Kylie Rae versus Deonna Purrazzo for the Knockouts Championship there. So I think that's where this is going. Now, Tenille Dashwood first signed with Impact Wrestling in July 2019 following her run with Ring of Honor. She ended up losing to then Knockouts champion Taya Valkyrie at Bound for Glory last year, so it's not even been that long since she's been away. She's been away from the company since March of this year when the COVID-19 worldwide pandemic hit. Now, obviously, I'm not one of those people that thinks right now the pandemic has gone away or we're on the other side of it, because we're not. In actuality, things really haven't changed that much since it hit back in March. I think the only thing that has changed is the ability to cope and understanding a bit more the health and safety measures, the social distancing, the quarantine, the mask wearing, all of that sort of stuff, the testing. I think that's the only thing that's changed. That's why we're seeing Tenille Dashwood return here. That's why in WWE we're seeing Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn returning, because companies finally are taking it seriously in that if you're going to perform on these shows, one, especially in the case of Impact, not in the case of AEW because they have the space, but you're not going to have fans there. 2, you're going to be socially distanced, the talent backstage. 3, everyone's going to get tested, and regardless of the test, they're going to have to practice social distancing, mask wearing, hand sanitizing, all of that stuff. And wrestlers are gradually feeling more and more comfortable, and companies are more and more aware of what they need to do. This is why the likes of MLW are returning soon. This is why the likes of the NWA are returning soon in September too. So I think this is the biggest factor for Tenille Dashwood returning here. There's an elevated feeling of safety, I think, now with wrestling on these shows, and shows know how to adapt and really put on a show during the pandemic. So, and it's a great acquisition to the Knockouts roster, which is absolutely stacked anyway right now in Impact Wrestling. Now, Tenille Dashwood, after the show, tweeted, she wrote, "I'm back. Best episode of Impact Wrestling in a long time. Hashtag Impact on Access TV. Hashtag all about Tenille." Then she also wrote in a follow-up tweet, quote, "Ratings just picked up at Impact Wrestling. Hashtag Impact on Access TV." Now, Deonna Purrazzo, the Knockouts champion, also tweeted about Tenille Dashwood's return and wrote, quote, "Wow, show up to work once in months and expect a title match. ... Nope. Hashtag Impact on Access TV." So, look, potentially we could see a Tenille Dashwood versus Deonna Purrazzo match on Impact over the coming weeks. It's certainly a possibility. I think they could have that match for the Knockouts Championship as a main event for an upcoming episode of Impact. You have Jordynne Grace come out, cost Tenille Dashwood the match. That then leads to their match at Bound for Glory. Then you have the Kylie Rae versus Deonna Purrazzo Bound for Glory match. Because Kylie Rae, of course, she is the number one contender for the Knockouts Championship. She won the Gauntlet match at Slammiversary, so she still hasn't had that title opportunity. And to me, it makes the most sense for her to have that opportunity at Bound for Glory in October. You've also got to factor in as well that this is a absolutely stacked Knockouts roster at the moment. Absolutely blows AEW's Knockouts, well, AEW's female division out of the water. It really does. I think credit to AEW, this past weekend at All Out, they probably had their best female match that they've had in the history of their company, which was Thunder Rosa versus Hikaru Shida. One of them isn't even a wrestler for AEW. Thunder Rosa, of course, is the NWA World Women's Champion, and NWA are going to be picking up at their events later this month, so Thunder Rosa isn't going anywhere. So I look at the Knockouts division in Impact Wrestling, and it's night and day. It's night and day, the difference between Impact's Knockouts division and AEW's Women's division. It's so good. It's so good. And we're seeing more and more talent be signed to Impact Wrestling in the Knockouts division, because we're going to get the return of the Knockouts Tag Team Championships very soon. So expect maybe to see a few more faces. I think with the faces that they have, though, to be honest, already, I think you've got a couple of great tag teams in there. Kylie Rae and Susie could be a potential one, or Rosemary, if we have Su Yung go back. Rosemary and Su Yung. Taya Valkyrie, I'd like to see team up with maybe the likes of Madison Rayne. That could be a lot of fun. We maybe even could see a future tag team between Jordynne Grace and Tenille Dashwood. There's a lot to do here. Maybe Jordynne Grace and Havoc could team up as well. There's a lot of combinations we could see here, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if I saw more Knockouts be signed to Impact Wrestling soon as they try and fill out the roster for a Knockouts tag team division. To me, the Knockouts division, it's growing to a level of WWE and NXT. I think it's one of the unique selling points of Impact Wrestling right now. I really do. That the Knockouts division is so good. Every time I watch an episode of Impact Wrestling recently, of course, You have to look at the other storylines on the show that I think they're doing very well. I think Eric Young, I mean, if you're familiar with this channel, you know my thoughts on Eric Young. I think he's the best thing in Impact Wrestling right now. He's the top heel in the company, and he's doing the best work of his career. He really is. But I think there's other great things going on in Impact right now, whether it's the Good Brothers, whether it's... I'm a big fan of the Rascals' work, and I think the Knockouts division... I think they're one of the best things in Impact right now. They really, really are. And it says a lot. It really says a lot about not only the talent that's in the Knockouts division, but the presentation of the Knockouts division too. One of my big critical things with AEW and their women's division is that I do think the talent is there. They've got some very talented wrestlers in that division. Hikaru Shida, Nyla Rose. I like Penelope Ford and the other big names that they have in there. I was a fan of Rio. Obviously, Rio's in Japan at the moment, so it's a bit difficult to do that. I was a fan of her, but it's difficult. And I do think the talent is there. Britt Baker of two, big swole. I think it's got potential. But the problem with the AEW women's division isn't necessarily the talent. I do think that's a factor in it. I do think they need a higher quality of talent in there. But the big problem with the AEW women's division is the presentation. You're not going to see the Women's Championship main event an episode of Dynamite. You're just not. And it's a bit of a chicken and egg scenario in that maybe they won't main event Dynamite because the talent isn't there. But how can you foster talent if they're not getting the opportunities on Dynamite? How can you foster and grow that division if they're going to get 5 minutes on Dynamite? You can't. Whereas in Impact Wrestling, you've got the Knockouts division main eventing not only TV shows and TV episodes of Impact, but they're also main eventing TV specials like Impact Emergence. The Knockouts division could easily main event a pay-per-view right now and no one would bat an eyelid because it's that good. So with Tenille Dashwood coming in, it's just another name. It's another name that's a quality name added to the division. And you look at the feuds that Tenille Dashwood can have. Obviously, like I said, it looks like she's going to have one with Jordynne Grace, Deonna Purrazzo. But I look forward to seeing Kylie Rae versus Tenille Dashwood down the line. We've had Tenille Dashwood versus Taya Valkyrie in the past. They had great matches. I look forward to that. Tenille Dashwood versus Rosemary. Rosemary as a character, I think, is one of the real fascinating characters of Impact Wrestling recently. Now, the whole romantic undertone of Wrestle House that she was involved in, it wasn't for me, but I was a big fan of Wrestle House and she was a focal point of that. So I think that there's so much talent that Tenille Dashwood can work with. Madison Rayne, she does the commentary, but she does still compete on occasion. Tenille Dashwood versus Madison Rayne, that could be a great match too. So there's so many rivalries, there's so many opponents that Tenille Dashwood can have right now. Now, in terms of the contract, this is an interesting bit of news about the contract of Deonna Purrazzo, the Impact Knockouts champion. Now, we heard that Eric Young last week when he won the Impact World Championship, that he had signed an exclusive 2-year deal with Impact Wrestling. Deonna Purrazzo, on the flip side of things, still doesn't have an exclusive full-time contract with Impact as of yet. I think given the work that she is doing and has done, I think it's a matter of time. I think as the Knockouts division continues to grow and continues to impress in Impact Wrestling, it'll be a matter of time. Deonna Purrazzo, for me, right now, she hasn't been champion for very long, but you look at her work so far, the match at Slammiversary, the main event of Impact Emergence, she has to get a contract sooner or rather than later. She has to, because it looks to me like they're building the division around her. And this, to me, is how to continue to grow Impact. How do you differentiate the show from, especially AEW, but other shows like WWE and NXT? You have something that the other shows don't have. WWE does have a very strong women's division, but if you compare it to AEW, that's something that Impact has that AEW doesn't. A real strong female division that put on great matches and have great storylines. So I think it's great. I think it's absolutely great. Now, Tenille Dashwood, of course, she did compete for AEW briefly at Double or Nothing in 2019. And you have to wonder at this period of time, why wasn't AEW interested in signing her? Now, I don't know the reasons as to why, but if I had to speculate, I would suggest it's because Impact Wrestling is a better place to be if you're a female wrestler right now. It just is. If I'm a talented female wrestler or female performer right now and I have the opportunity to go to AEW or go to Impact Wrestling, I know where I'm signing. I'm signing with Impact Wrestling because I'm going to have better matches, I'm going to have better opponents, and I'm going to be a more featured player than I would be in AEW. And they have a better opportunity in Impact Wrestling. That's the situation right now. That's absolutely the situation right now. Now, I touched on Wrestle House, and we'll touch on it briefly before we end up here. Now, I have to give credit. Wrestle House looked like it had its sort of swan song last week, its final moment. You had Johnny Bravo bite the apple of Rosemary. He proposed to Rosemary, and it looks like they're going to get married or something like that. I've mentioned before, that whole romantic subplot, which I guess it wasn't much of a subplot, it was the reason why Wrestle House was even there. I could have done without, but I thought it was okay. But I think the major thing you have to look at when it comes to Wrestle House, first of all, I thought pretty much 99% of the segments that they had for Wrestle House, I thought were absolutely superb. I really did. I thought it was fun, unique, something we haven't really seen before in pro wrestling, let's be honest. A mixture between that reality show, Big Brother style, put wrestlers in a house, have a ring on the outside, have comedy segments which were funny. You got to know all of the characters more in there, and these weren't exactly main event level characters. You had main event caliber of knockouts in there: Su Yung, Taya Valkyrie, Kylie Ray, Rosemary as well. But you look at the other guys like Crazy Steve, Johnny Swinger, Triple XL were in there, the Dinas, they got to show personality. Yeah, Tommy Dreamer in there as well. And coming out of it, now that it looks like Wrestle House is finished, and we had Wrestle House actually get involved in the segment last week with Deonna Purrazzo and Jordan Grace and Tenille Dashwood, you have to give credit to everyone involved with Wrestle House, as far as the production, the talent, the producers. I know Tommy Dreamer was a big driving force in that as a producer, shooting the shows at that house. The way they did it, and the concept and the creator for it, I thought was excellent. I thought it was absolutely excellent, and you have to praise them for a really creative and unique way to produce entertaining television during a pandemic. It's not easy. It's not easy. And look, a problem with Impact Wrestling right now is a problem with a lot of pro wrestling shows right now is they live and breathe on having live fans there. And at the TV tapings in Nashville, they're still performing in front of no fans. They're not even giving talents around in the ring because I think it's so, down to bare bones at these TV tapings. So there is a lack of atmosphere, and some of the matches, even though they are great, are a little bit difficult to watch because you're just thinking in the back of your head, man, if these had fans there, this would be so good. And what do? You find different ways to produce television. You find creative and unique ways to produce television. And this is exactly what Impact did here with Wrestle House. So credit to Scott D'Amore, Don Callis, Tommy Dreamer, the talent involved, Rosemary, Kylie Ray, Taya Valkyrie, Crazy Steve, Johnny Swinger. I'm missing a couple, but I thought it was absolutely excellent. I really enjoyed Wrestle House, and like I said, the Knockouts division, again, maybe didn't steal the show last week because of the Eric Young World Championship victory, but they had one of the better segments on the show, whether it was at Wrestle House or the Black Tie event with Deonna Purrazzo. A lot of fun, and credit to Impact Wrestling because their Knockouts division just gets better and better every single week. But of course, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on Impact's Knockouts division? What are your thoughts on Tenille Dashwood returning to Impact Wrestling? Do we have Knockouts Tag Team Championships in the future? What are your thoughts on the Knockouts Championship match at Bound for Glory? What will it be? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I'll be sure to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button as well. Really just help us out here on YouTube, go up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't watched our videos before. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there will be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. I believe we're over 750 subscribers now, so we're on our way, halfway there to 800 subscribers on that long road to 1,000 subscribers. So if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. I would really, really appreciate that. You can also follow us on our social media platforms. The handles are on the screen right now. The links are in the description box below. It's at 365 Wrestle on Twitter and Instagram, and at Wrestle News 365 on Facebook. So be sure to give us a like or a follow there if you haven't already. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. And I'll speak for you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.